Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. It will come as a surprise to nobody that Nicola Sturgeon quite despised rural Scotland. She was only concerned, of course, with the Central Belt, her power base, where the people were and where the most money could be made for this group of, well, organised crime, really. It was an organised crime family, isn't it? Where they're all being intermarried. Family is about it. But not much money to be made out in the Highlands and Islands, so they ignored them. And this has been proved by sort of an analysis and examination of Nicola Sturgeon's diaries. These have come to light as part of the sort of inquiry in that, and they've all been published. But it goes to show where her concentration lie, because of all these diaries and all these diary entries, there was just one single entry concerned with rural Scotland in the last 2 years of her illustrious reign as the glorious leaderine of Scotland on her quest to become Queen Nick, undoubtedly. But we'll take a look at this just to show exactly the sort of loathsome creature she was and how she didn't care about anyone outside of the power base of the Central Belt. Here goes. So, Nicola Sturgeon's withering snub to rural Scotland as diary entries highlight her complete and utter lack of interest for anything further north than Falkirk. The former First Minister had just one diary entry committed to rural Scotland in 2 years as she focused on reserved matters over devolved issues. There you go. If proof, if any, is needed that all she concerned about was independence, all this power, didn't give one flying monkeys over the rest of Scotland. And to be honest, she had lots of flying monkeys, didn't she? She's exactly the sort of person. Get Dorothy. She was like that. I bet she'd love to get hold of those ruby slippers, wouldn't she? I was going to say, if you throw water over her, would she dissolve? But that would be Mary Black, wouldn't it? Anyway, especially if we had soap in it. Anyway, Nicola Sturgeon devoted just 0.1% of her time in meetings on rural affairs, according to new analysis. We told earlier this week that a study looking at her diary entries showed she increasingly sidelined devolved matters to focus on reserved issues. Yeah, can't actually do the job. You've given this power, you've got this, you've got this, you've got this. All these things that they have got the devolved powers over were put aside and forgotten about as she constantly clamoured for more power from the reserved issues. Is it any wonder those things that are devolved, education, social care, the NHS, that sort of thing, all falling apart because Nicola Sturgeon wasn't doing her day job. She wasn't looking at the things for which she's responsible. She was too busy looking at the things for which she wasn't responsible because power grabs all the time. Honestly, cannot do anything because of that constant obsession with independence. It's no wonder everything is falling apart. Now it has emerged she almost snubbed rural affairs completely with just one diary entry out of 681 making reference to the topic. She did attend an exhibition for Equality Meets Scotland briefing, but her focus was almost entirely on towns and cities where the money is and where they can work out ways of getting people's money into their coffers. Organised crime, protection racket. Oh, there's something over there that we haven't got any control over that. No. Let's make it licensed and then we'll have to pay us money to get a licence and shit. That's basically it, isn't it? If you don't, then we'll send the bully boys of the police round. It is organised crime by any other means. Anyway, the research was conducted by Hannah Graham, a senior lecturer at the University of Stirling. She wrote, rural affairs is the least frequent coding category with one diary entry and making up 0.1% of the total sample. By contrast, rural affairs often feature in the political communication and public events attendance of the Scottish Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats, especially at the constituencies and regions where their politicians are elected and are often out with the Central Belt cities, which they are, of course. I mean, you go into the cities and it tends to be Labour and SNP. You get in the rural, it tends to be Tory and Lib Dem. I don't know if it's financial or is it More that people, I suppose, and I mean small c conservatism here. I think maybe people who live in the country want to conserve the country better, whereas people in the cities don't understand the country. I lived in a city my whole life. I now live rural, and I love it. I know some people don't like it and they can't get on with it. I love being in a rural setting, and so I drive along, and I don't mind that there's a tractor in front of me. I don't mind I'm having sometimes to wait for horses. No, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I don't want where I've moved to be destroyed. I want the farmers to do their bit. I want them to conserve the land. Sure, work the land, do what they need to do. And yes, occasionally, cow shit on the field, and boy does it hum. But it's 2 days, 3 days a year. You can live with it, you know. But of course that means you get into small c conservatism, which often leads to big C conservatism. But that's how it is. Anyway, Miss Graham also speculates that had Kate Forbes succeeded Miss Sturgeon, rural affairs would now feature more frequently in ministerial diaries and the SNP contributions in the public sphere. Though with a track record of only one meeting in 2 years, that would not be difficult to improve upon. Again, Kate Forbes, Highlands and Islands, she would concern, my mistake, she would concern herself more with rural affairs because that's the background she's from. She knows about the city, she's aware of the cities, I'm sure. But coming from that background, she would put more effort into the needs of the greater population rather than just those that happen to live in a sort of 60-mile area up and down the middle. That's about it, really, isn't it? Anyway, the study did give Sturgeon credit for spending more time on business and the economy than was often reported, but she attended only 2 meetings about housing and homelessness and 3 about addictive substances. Well, you know, businesses are great because businesses make money and she can sort of go, oh, we can get some licenses, get some money from the businesses. Whereas housing and homelessness is not something she would concern herself about because that would require sort of concern, humanity, empathy. Not things, of course, that she is in any way possessing of. Nicola Sturgeon is, you know, when you see Nicola Sturgeon, the first words that come to your mind are never going to be empathy, are they? Sympathy, no. Heartfelt warming at her doing something good for people in need. That's not the sort of thing she does. It's not what she's associated with. Cold hard cash. That's more hers. Anyway, a spokesman for Sturgeon told the Times whether it be introducing the game-changing Scottish child payment, which is estimated to lift 50,000 children out of poverty, even though the SNPs have put over 200,000 of them into poverty, not much of a help, or steering the country through the pandemic. Well, we've covered that, and she can't have steered them through. She didn't have any notes, did she? There's no notes. How does she? She wasn't steering them through. If she was steering them through, she'd have all her records, all the things, all the decisions, but she hasn't got any, and she's forgotten it. How do we know? None of this is true. She can't provide any evidence that that's true, can she? Nicola's record as First Minister demonstrates how the SNP delivers for people across Scotland, though delivers for people who are members of the SNP with those nice cushy jobs all over the place at public expense. Meanwhile, the people of the country sit there with no social care, no NHS, no education, no communication, no transport links. The list goes on. I am not playing that game. She was awful. Anyway, I shall round off. I shall come up and we'll finish the video. But it is of no surprise at all to anyone, I think, that she didn't give one flying monkey about rural Scotland. Coming up. Well, there we go. Is anyone surprised? I'm not surprised. I'm sure you're not surprised that she doesn't care about the countryside, doesn't care about people in rural locations. Anyone further north than Falkirk doesn't exist. I mean, she's heard of these places, but she couldn't point to them on a map, could she? Inverness, yeah, I've heard of that. That's up north somewhere, isn't it? Literally that. Aberdeen, oh, we don't like Aberdeen. They've got oil. We've got to close them down. You know, I mean, don't ask about the little places. You know, she won't have a clue. Wick? What the hell's Wick, she'd say. I mean, might as well be Ulaanbaatar or Constantinople for all she knows. Hasn't got a clue. She's heard of the names, but she couldn't point to them. You know, the Black Isle, isn't it Africa somewhere? Who knows? I mean, anyway, like I say, no one's surprised. If she can't make money out of it, she's not interested. She's an uncaring, unfeeling, heartless old cow. It's good she's gone, but I mean, I'd rather she'd gone behind bars. But anyway, hopefully, it's probably not going to happen though, is it? I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. It's going to be a busy day. There's lots of videos today, so do hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, do, because we've got a big story coming up, and I want to go over it, because I've mentioned Aberdeen, and we do have an Aberdeen story, so come up with that one. Anyway, until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I shall speak to you later.